Hi, my name is Dorothé. I'm an assistant professor here at the Vrije Universiteit. I teach in a creative technology program, and I teach courses that are focused on design futures. And as Dennis and Caroline already mentioned briefly, I use critical design in my research a lot. I titled my talk Imagining Equitable Futures because I also have a bit of an allergic reaction to accessibility and equality, but maybe I should have called it Imagining Available Futures. We'll see in the talk why that works as well. Yet, critical design is not the type of design that looks towards solutions per se. That's often what we think about when we think about design. You have a problem, you think about how you can solve that problem, and then you build a solution for that problem. But critical design actually focuses more on provocation rather than resolutions. So it wants to ask the uncomfortable questions and reflect on the societal systems that underlie the problems that we come across. It is kind of the opposite of this affirmative design that we're doing a lot, the type where we try to solve those problems that often, and you might have noticed this in your work, reinforce the status quo. So critical design kind of goes against this idea of techno-optimism as well. So asking, should we do this instead of can we do this? We have the technology, we can implement it, yes, but should we? And the answer sometimes is also no. So there we go, speculative design. Speculative design is a subset of critical design. It's a approach that I use a lot in my work, where we use the cone of possibilities to look towards the future and think about possible futures, maybe preferable futures, things that are plausible or not so plausible. And it uses design as a tool, again, not to get to solutions, but to think through problems in a different way. So we often ask ourselves, what if statements at the beginning of a process? What if the world was different? So that might look a little bit like this. These are two projects I highlighted. The Future IKEA catalog from 2015. That's 10 years ago already. That is shocking. The Future IKEA catalog was a catalog made by a research team in which they imagined furniture of the future. So that could be you're not actually owning your television, but you're sharing it with your neighbors. So you only have your television when you need it. Or your walls are covered in moss so that you have a better internal atmosphere. And the interesting thing about this catalog is that it looks indistinguishable from a real IKEA catalog, even though they don't make those anymore now. Back then, we would get those on our doormats and we would leaf through them. And this looked like it could be exactly that thing, except from the future. And that's a big thing in speculative design, is that the things we develop and the things we design, we make them look as if they could really exist, to really trigger that conversation with people. What if this thing existed? With an eye on time, because I want to get to the interactive part of things, I'll skip the second example and talk about critical and speculative design for ... features. Because of course we can talk about preferable and possible and plausible futures, but we can also talk about, for example, preposterous futures. Really take it out of the left field and talk about what can we imagine would never happen, but what if that did happen? And Kinch and co-authors call this playful speculative design, where we take these tensions of things that we are worried about and things that are serious, things like equitability and what do people have access to, and we make it provocative, we make it absurd, we make it ridiculous to really get to that point of what if we looked at it completely differently. And that's something I teach my students as well. I don't think I did the proper sharing thing to have audio here, but I'll quickly show this video. It's only 23 seconds long of what my students did. Yes. So this is a speculative design project that my students did last year, actually in collaboration with Dennis, where they were looking into the future for voice agents, and especially playful voice agents for kids. And they imagined a future where the air quality was so bad that you lived inside your own air bubble. And the nice thing of having that technology around your head is that your voice agent would be with you at all times. So kind of this really dystopian look towards the future, but it allows us to ask questions. What if this is what we would look to? And they also created this exhibition where they positioned it as a museum exhibition to invite people to come over and ask questions about this technology as if it was from the past, actually. So my point with this is that speculative design is not necessarily concerned with feasibility. It's concerned with asking questions. And that makes it easier to include marginalized voices because there is no conversation about, there is no money for that, or the technology doesn't exist, or we don't have space for that. No, we're just having the conversation. We're just coming up with the ideas. We'll figure out how later. Anything can happen. But we should also ask ourselves, should it? So, in conclusion, before we go into the next interactive part, critical and speculative design are a methodology for reshaping how people can participate in the processes that design the world around us, to imagine all kinds of futures, both positive and negative, dystopian and utopian, and that often uncover technological, spatial, social tensions. And in my opinion, those tensions are where the opportunities hide.